We are in the SEC tournament, folks, and your Tigers are 1-0 in that tournament, taking down the South Carolina Gamecocks by the score of 86-55. Yes, we ate more chicken. You're welcome, Chick-fil-A. We've got a reaction show coming up right now. We're going to talk about the score, obviously, the stats, the storylines. Let's get into it right now. Well, War Eagle Auburn family, and a special War Eagle and welcome to those of you that consider yourselves part of the E2C Network family, the best little family within the Auburn family. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us, spending some time to talk about this exciting and very, I think, a game that everybody is very pleased with at the end of this thing, the way it turned out. A reaction show for Auburn versus South Carolina. As you're coming to the stream, whether you are live or on the replay, do us a favor by smashing the like button. And also you can drop now in the comments where you're watching from, your city, state, international, all that good stuff to let us know that you're here, you're watching. Again, you can do that on the replay as well. The purposes of our stream today, talking about the score, the stats, and the storylines from Auburn versus South Carolina, 86-55, a literally shellacking again of the Gamecocks. If it was considered a fluke, a mistake, just chance last time, this is the statement win that the Tigers needed to really firmly place themselves in the upper echelon of the SEC this season. South Carolina is a very good basketball team, but they got nothing for the Auburn Tigers. And I'm not just trying to drive the knife in deeper for them, but it's just the reality of the situation. And we need to kind of indulge ourselves in that from time to time when we prove ourselves to be formidable in a way over very good opponents in the SEC. So we got a lot to discuss in this. I want to hear from you guys, things that you want to discuss. We'll say hello to some of you in a little bit. I think South Carolina showed from the very get-go that they were going to play aggressive and fast to try to keep up with what they saw was their Achilles heel last year, not being able to keep up with Auburn scoring at home. You would think at a neutral site game that would be a little bit more favorable for them. And it was at times. They were able to stay close, 2 and 3 points for certain parts of the first half. But eventually, Auburn's depth, speed, size, all just became too much. And the lead began to stretch and stretch and stretch. A certain point during the second half, too, they got within close to almost getting down within less than double digits, single digits to make maybe it interesting, but just too much for them today. Absolutely too much. So many great performances to talk about in this game. Has any other team in the SEC tournament cleared their bench? Anybody else? I haven't been watching the rest of the games religiously, but I feel like I can fairly certainly say that this is the first team in the SEC tournament, this tournament, to clear their benches. And I think it says something about the state of Auburn basketball in the tournament right now and who is really playing hot. A lot of people focus on getting hot at the right time, and especially at postseason. Auburn definitely seems to be doing that to start off with. Much more ahead with the Tigers. We got implications to talk about too, about what's next. We are going to talk about that at the end of the stream here. So just hold your horses if you're wanting to talk about that. But we got to focus on this right now. So many people to say hello to. I probably won't be able to say hi to every single one of you, but thank you so much for being here. Chris, I'll be one Kenobi. Kevin, Unbeaten Lake, Justin on X, Bryant checking in over there. We got people on Facebook checking in. Devin here. Very good. Devin says a convincing tournament win. Let's go. I think I'm trying to remember what other game has already transpired that was pretty well in hand. I think it was it Texas A&M's first game? I could be wrong. But I feel fairly certain to say that this is the most impressive win thus far in the tournament. Now we got four other games playing tonight. You may see something similar happen, but right now, the Tigers, I think, look like the best and most complete team in the tournament from what we've seen thus far. KD plays like a grizzly bear. He was definitely on fire in many ways in this game. If I have one gripe, it is, and I know some of you feel similarly, the overly emotional state we reached some points in this game. The fact that we're getting to so many technical fouls and things like that. Um, I thought it was called fairly evenly. Technical fouls were called on both sides. In fact, they had one raised up to a technical foul. Katie sometimes lets it get to him. Chad likes to instigate. It hasn't bit us in the butt yet, at least that I can remember, but hopefully it won't continue. So if that's a one gripe I have, that would be it. But yeah, good to play on a neutral court, Kevin talks about. And I think that goes to show you too, everybody was trying to say about Auburn, yeah, they can win at home. They struggle on the road. Of course, so did everybody else. Neutral sites are a different beast. If you remember all the way back to the very first game of the season, Baylor up in South Dakota, North Dakota, one of the Dakotas. And it was a neutral site game, and Baylor's a very good basketball team. Auburn had the game pretty much in hand, and they played fairly well, minus a few things in their very first game. So neutral sites are a different beast unto themselves. Auburn fans travel well. You could hear that today. So kudos again to the fans that were able to travel up there and support the team in that way. Let's see here. Unbeaten Lake said we outscored them by a total of 71 in 2 games this season. I don't think I've ever seen that before. 40 points in the first game, 31 in this one. That is quite impressive. And I have to think that somebody sitting on the sideline saw us hit that 30-point mark and said, y'all think we can do it again? I'll take 30 point. The point has been made. South Carolina, you got nothing for Auburn. I'm sorry. It's just the reality of the situation today. The game definitely got chippy. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. South Carolina player saying, we ain't Neville anymore. Karma. Yeah. To me, that shows that we got in your head. The fact that you're going to acknowledge how much it affected you. It showed something right there. And I think Auburn showed that it can win in fine fashion at neutral courts, even away from the confines of Neville Arena. All right. So opening statements and storylines from that game. It looked like everybody had a pretty decent game overall. Let me just start off by asking this question before we go through the stats right now in the chat. Give me one name alone. Who is your player of the game? You can tell me why later, but I just need one name in the comments if you're watching live. Who is your player of the game? And then tell me why in a separate comment if you can. Your leading scorer tonight, Janai Broom, 18 points. Shot a lot of three-pointers, by the way. 2 for 5 from three-point land. 4 for 7 from the free throw line. 10 rebounds. Double-double for him. What I love about this for Janai is, yes, he was doing the right things and showing that coming back was a good decision for him in the regular season, but where the eyes all start coming on to the main players who are going to be going to the NBA draft is right now in postseason. NBA draft saw that performance today and I like what I'm seeing from Janai Broom. 3 assists for him, 2 personal fouls, 25 minutes of play. He gets the most today. Your next leading scorer, we only had 2 folks, 2 in double digits. 10 for KD Johnson. Really happy to see him be in the upper tiers of the scorers just because he's taken such a backseat this season. So for him to be such a big factor in this game, I think is a great thing for him. Next leading scorer would be Aiden Holloway with 9. So your guards really contributing today. Denver Jones with 7. Chad Baker-Mazar with 8. Skipped over him. So those are your leading scorers today. Let's see who you guys are saying for player of the game. Bruce Pearl, KD, Broom. KD, his energy's off the charts. So it looks like we've got more of a lean towards Janai Broom. You just read the stats, so you understand why he would be the pick there. But then you also look at KD's performance, and I often wonder, is it becoming so evident that Janai is going to do this night in, night out? Does he have to almost raise his game a little bit more to be the player of the game? Now, sometimes you're just utterly dominant and that makes you the player of the game, but I look for the guys that made the biggest difference. And I kind of agree with some of you guys that KD Johnson may need to be in heavy consideration for player of the game. If he hadn't got the technical foul, maybe that would help his case, but he definitely provided a spark in a way, being very aggressive, very fast, unable to match his energy and speed at times with South Carolina. So, yeah, He was a beast tonight. The rest of your scoring tonight, Jalen Williams with only 3 today, whatever you want to say, which was interesting to see. Only 3 for him. Trey Donaldson with 5. I'm going to give props to Trey with being so consistent of a mid-range jumper shooter, especially off the dribble. Pointed it out on social media, but that is a skill that is very lacking these days. It seems like, at least, and he is very, very good at it. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Also want to give credit to Chris Moore. Again, we talked about this. Coach Pearl said when Lior Berman went down, Chris lost some minutes to Lior, who was playing well. This is his time to step up. He needs to be more aggressive offensively. And he did that from the start. 6 points tonight. And really, he kind of played a little bit like a Deshaun Murray at times early in the game, who is an undersized forward, kind of like Chris is. Chris is an oversized guard, undersized forward. So I got Deshaun Murray vibes from him today. Folks, I completely missed Chaney Johnson all the way down there at the end. 11 points tonight. So you're 3 players in double digits: Broom, KD, and Chaney Johnson. So Chaney made up where Jalen did a little bit less tonight. Cardwell was 7. Jalen Harper on the scoreboard, folks. Can you believe it? Jalen Harper on the scoreboard. I cannot believe it. So great to see him get into the game. His brother is watching that and being super excited, but he scores. That felt surreal, did it not? To watch a Harper drive down to the lane and score. It felt very weird to me. So that's your scoring tonight. We'll look at team stats in just a little bit. I would 99% say that this team is better than the 2021-22 team. 25 wins, all over 10 plus points. Well, it's easy to say that and forget that we're comparing the teams they played this year to the teams they played then. We don't know how better the teams were they played then. You may be right. You may absolutely be right, Unbeaten Lake, that this team may be better when it's all said and done. And if I'm thinking about that team a little bit more as I kind of move that thought around in my head, the team may ultimately be better. I think the talent, because Jabari and Walker may have been more on their side, if that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I think about it. What would be interesting is to see what the 2019-20 team, the one that didn't get to play, how good they might have been. That would be a good conversation, I think. Yeah, no complaints about the refs. We got nothing to say today. Just let it be. Even if you got complaints about the refs, just let it be at this point. Auburn won its first tournament game since 2019. Neil bringing the reality to the situation. So the narrative that Auburn just can't win or get the job done at the SEC tournament does not hold over today. And yes, Chris, I love that the Jungle got a lot of attention today. It gets attention every time they're on the TV, but to hear it on on ESPN, not SEC Network, but ESPN, the talk about that, talk about can Auburn win away without their student section, their crowd. Boy, can they. And their crowd showed up today too. So good to have that pointed out by the media as well. All right, 86-55. We've looked at individual stats. We've looked at storylines. Let's look at team stats. 49% from the field for Auburn. Good night. Very good. Very good. 47% from the three-point arc. Even better, which is really what helped us get that percentage up there. But what you are going to hear me be super happy about are those two things, but then you're just going to see my head explode. I said I had one complaint today, and that was the chippiness that came from our guys. 53% from the free throw line. I am grasping firmly the stand that this computer is on and trying not to smash it. Utterly disgusting. You cannot do that in postseason play unless you're going to shoot like that. And thankfully, that's what happened today. If you get to the free throw line, we have to make these in postseason play. 53%. South Carolina did 71%. So a little bit better for them. Turnover battle. These are the big important stats: free throws, turnovers, and rebounds. Turnover battle. Auburn wins that, only 5 for them today to South Carolina's 10. Rebounds, 40-42. Early South Carolina had the advantage in this category, as many offensive rebounds as they were getting. But Auburn fought back and won it by 2 rebounds. So they win rebounds, they win turnovers, they look trash in free throws. It's enough to make a difference, along with their shooting in the game, to talk about it. I'm all right. I'm all right. We won. Now, if we had lost and I saw 53% from the free throw line, y'all might be seeing me throw things like and just, flailing about, all those different things. I'm so glad that didn't happen. Other stats to keep in mind here. Let's look and see if anything else tells the tale. Second chance points are even. We doubled them up, almost doubled them up in points in the paint. Janai Broom, Janie Johnson, and others, but those two especially. Bench points, 16-41. It's the most overused thing this year. Auburn is deep, but it's the truth, right? Because your starters tonight, only one of them gets into double figures. Holloway almost does tonight. Chaney Johnson and KD Johnson, the Johnsons, off the bench, are your second leading scorers tonight. So the bench points really made a difference tonight. Pretty even in fast break points. Doubled them up in blocks, more than doubled them up in steals. So defensively, depth wise, that's pretty much the difference. I'm going to give the edge to points in the paint, though, as being, I'll say points off the bench, 16-41. That's the difference in the game for me. So many things to be excited about, so many things to be happy for. We still got plenty to talk about. So let's keep doing that. What's coming up here at the end of the show? Let's talk about what's coming up next, the next opponent, how we feel about it, all that stuff. So if you got comments and questions that you want me to address as part of that, gear them up in the chat right now. Let me remind you about what's coming up here next at E2C Network. Lots of stuff. So saddle up here to remind you, it is about to be a busy, busy week of live streams that you do not want to miss. Here we go. Let's start with this one. And I actually have the incorrect one, I believe. So we won't bring that one up because it's embarrassing. Auburn versus Mississippi State live stream tomorrow. Post game, win or lose, we will be talking about it. If we're going to the championship game, we'll be all super hyped. So be here for that one. If it requires to Auburn go to the championship game, we will do a post-game stream for that on Sunday. Do not miss that as well. That evening, that same Sunday evening, we've got the Auburn Experience live recording episode 70. Brackets will be released. There'll be chaos. We're going to be having so much fun on that show. You don't want to miss that as well. If that's not enough March Madness discussion for you, Monday night at 8, we are going to do a bracket pick'em, the whole dang thing. It'll probably go for hours. Come join us, at least if you can do it for a few minutes. Help us build the bracket together. If that's not enough for you, we've got a baseball stream this Tuesday after the South Alabama game, talking about Vanderbilt and looking at Arkansas coming up. If that's not enough for you, we've got the Auburn Family Night call-in show Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, just before March Madness gets going. And if that's not enough for you, of course, we'll have post-game streams after the March Madness games. Hopefully, we'll have many of them. Whew. It's going to be a busy time for me. It's going to be a busy time for here. All right. Let's talk about this. We are getting spammed too in the chats a lot with a lot of these spam bots. So I'm trying to block them as we keep going too. On Facebook it is. I don't see them on YouTube. The game coming up, Mississippi State, Auburn versus Mississippi State, the rubber game, meaning third time we played each other. They won one, we won one. This is to determine who wins the season series. And folks, I had mistakenly said earlier to my wife that we had beaten them twice. And I said, you never want to face someone a second. It's hard to beat someone once. Really difficult to beat them a second time, but it's almost impossible in my mind. Not impossible. It's just not likely you're going to beat them a third time unless you're just that good. Thankfully, we are not going to be trying for the third time. This will be only the second time. Mississippi State is playing very well. And I talked about this today. We do TikTok lives from time to time while that app's still up. And we talked about that this morning. And I said that I would rather face Tennessee for the second time than Mississippi State for the third time. Some of you may disagree with that. You say Dalton Connect, you say Tennessee, and I agree with you. I still think Tennessee, by most standards, is the best team in the SEC. Now, if Auburn wins the tournament, we might have a conversation. Kentucky wins the, same thing for Kentucky too. Alabama, they'll just get lucky. But I would much rather have faced Tennessee than Mississippi State. A lot of what people talk about in postseason is getting hot at the right time. So how are you all feeling about it? Are you nervous? How about this quick question for the room? One name, Tennessee or Mississippi State. Who would you have rather seen in the semifinals? Toulouse Smith is a very formidable big man down there, can do a lot of good things. I'm blanking on the individual, the guard who shoots really, really well off the top of my head right here. So if you guys remember his name, let me know. But they've got a lot of athletes and very capable of doing some damage, as we saw to Tennessee today. The big thing with Tennessee is they hit them in the mouth and just didn't let them get back up. Mississippi State is capable of holding our offense under the limit. They held us to our lowest score of the season, 58 points at their place. So we've got a comparison at theirs, at ours. What happens on a neutral site is the big question. I'm definitely more nervous about a game with Mississippi State than I am with Tennessee, but please don't hear me not saying this, that I'm also glad that we do not have to face Dalton Connect, face so many of the other great Ziegler, Vescovy, Adu on Tennessee's team. I'm very glad that we don't have to face those guys and give them a little bit of a shut up juice for a little bit here. Pretty much kept them from being a number one seed today. Well, definitely kept them from being a number one seed today. Before today, I would have said Mississippi State. After today, I'm not sure. And that's a credit to Mississippi State and Chris Jans, their head coach there. Remember, Chris Jans coached that New Mexico State team. That's a trigger word for people these days, from Auburn fans, who nearly took down the Tigers before they had their magical Final Four run. So he definitely has had success against Bruce Pearl. Can he do it in the SEC tournament? We're going to find out tomorrow. We are a different team now, though, so I'm going to say bring any team. We just need to stick to our game, and we should be good. Kevin says Tennessee he would have rather seen, is how I'm answering that. Chris Jans always looks super worried, like that's like his default expression. I thought you were saying like it's always his fault, which I guess is kind of what you were saying there. I definitely think Chris Jans is one of those rising coaches in college basketball, making the move from New Mexico State, having success there, to Mississippi State, a program that's had success. And so it's not an easy job that you walk in and make a big difference. You gotta earn respect there. So Chris Jans versus Bruce Pearl, Janai versus Toulouse Smith. I'm forgetting the guard's name for them that shoots really well versus, say, Chris CBM. Man, it's going to be a good game tomorrow. I'm so excited that Auburn showed up today. I'm so excited that we're talking about a win, and I'm so excited we get to talk about it tomorrow. Do not miss it. Invite a friend. Nobody's got any excuses of being at work tomorrow. I hope that you all will be here to hang out with us on a post-game stream, win or lose. Because even if we lose, we've got a lot of discussion about what we saw, what we need to change going into March Madness, and what the implications might be in terms of bracketology and things like that. Final thoughts, comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals, get them in right now. Final reminders, smash that like button if you haven't. If you are not, please consider supporting the channel any way that you can, such as being part of the Booster Club at patreon.com/E2C Network, hitting the join button down below on YouTube, all kinds of other ways listed in the YouTube description for the videos too, if you want to check out some other ways to talk about or to can support us as well. But we hope that you'll just support as well by being here, hanging out with us as you've done in this stream. Devin points out 42 points in the paint. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic, but not to be also lost in that discussion. is the points off the bench. All right, let's do this to end the show. Kevin's got a good thing here. Everybody in the chat right now, what's your prediction for tomorrow? Whether it's a score, win by, lose by, however you want to say it. What is your prediction for tomorrow? Kevin says win by 10. I'm going to go on the side of saying that Auburn wins, but they only win by 6. And it's like a 6 at the very end, meaning we were probably in the 10-point range, but we didn't make some free throws at the very end, something like that. I'm going to say, oh, look at Devin. Me and Devin, it's the same one. Auburn by 6. I'm going to say Auburn by 6 as well. We've got an Auburn by 10. So if you've got predictions about what's going to happen tomorrow, definitely let us know. All right, folks. Man, we've got a busy time coming up here. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us today and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Till I talk to you again, doesn't that chicken taste good? War Eagle.